Hello, Saints. On behalf of all the officers, I'd like to thank you for your graciousness during this time of COVID-19. Certainly has been encouraging to us to see how you've treated each other and how you've been patient with us. We are very encouraged as we get to be back in our space with our church family, having the Lord's table together. Please, as we go through this video, please focus on the fact that we are trying to do our best to follow the guidelines that are published for us by the CDC, specifically for places of worship. We don't take those guidelines lightly in that we don't want to be transmitting the disease to anyone in our congregation or to your loved ones. So please pay attention. Please take heed of the protocols I'm going to walk you through, and we look forward to seeing you at worship this Sunday. All right? All right. Let me start with three main things I want you to remember. First and foremost, we're going to maintain the 6-foot bubble. The 6-foot bubble is no different than what you have when you go social distance, when you go to Home Depot or to the grocery store. Okay, we're calling it the 6-foot bubble, and you'll hear that over and over again. For us, for you as parents, this means keeping your family together inside of a tight space so that you're never 6 feet closer to any other family. So I'll be saying 6-foot bubble throughout the presentation. Please keep that in mind. Secondly, please do not touch anything that you do not need to touch. You'll hear that over and over again. Okay, and lastly, the most important point, please just follow directions. We're trying to keep this as simple and straightforward for you as possible. We recognize this is nothing what we want, but it is where we are right now. So please follow the directions. You'll see officers posted at various points as we move through into the sanctuary and as we move back out of the sanctuary into the parking lot. And those officers will give you direction as to what you need to do. So please remember those three things. And if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so let's start when you arrive at the church. Obviously, most of us arrive via vehicle, so you're going to just drive into the parking lot as you normally would, and please try to park near the front of the church. That is the main entry doors, the brand new doors that we just got. When you park, the first thing to remember is we are responsible as a church to keep everyone protected from the time you enter our property and to the time you leave. So we'd ask as you park, if someone next to you is still in their car, please wait for them to get out and to clear the area before you and your family get out of your car. And of course, once you get out of your car, again, maintain that 6-foot bubble. Moms, dads, please keep the littles close to you and not running over to the family that they haven't seen for a long time to go greet them with a big hug. Okay? Please keep everyone together, maintain your 6-foot bubble, and you're immediately going to notice there's going to be an officer in the parking lot directing you, welcoming you, of course, but directing you to enter via the main entrance to the church. As you enter the church building, you'll first enter the foyer, in which, again, you'll notice there's an officer posted there to give you directions. Now, I'm going to talk about bathrooms and how we're going to work that in a little bit, but for now, just please follow the directions of what the officer tells you to do. Essentially, what you can expect is you're going to proceed down the left or the right outboard aisles to enter the sanctuary. Okay, we're not going to be stopping like we normally would in the foyer to greet anyone. We're just going to proceed directly from outside the building all the way through into the sanctuary and into our pews. When you sit yourself in the pew, you can expect that you're a family of 4, 5, or 6, or even 7, that you'll have an entire pew to yourself. If you're a smaller group, maybe 1 or 2, then you may be seated on the outboard ends of one pew, maintaining a 6-foot lateral spacing between you and the other family unit in that pew. One thing to remember is everything we do in the service will be done via the person sitting on the outboard end of that pew. So we'd ask that you please sit an older family member, whether that's an adult or an older child, there on the end so that they can work the elements for the Lord's Supper and also the tithes and offerings during that time. You'll notice as you see these officers posted throughout the property that they're all wearing masks. You're welcome to bring your own mask, and we certainly encourage you to do so. And if you don't have a mask or don't feel comfortable wearing one, that'll be okay as well. Okay, so we're now sitting in the pew. Our family's waiting for worship. Worship's going to proceed just like you normally see worship. But I want to walk you through a couple key things that are going to be different. Two of those things, or two key points that are different, are going to be 1, the Lord's Supper, and 2, tithes and offerings. The Lord's Supper, as I mentioned already, is going to be served only to the members seated on the outboard sections of those pews. So you're going to notice that the officers that are serving the Lord's Supper are going to proceed down each aisle, so 1 on each outboard aisle and 2 on the inboard aisle, and they're going to stop at every person that's seated on the outside of that pew. They're going to just hold the tray out for that person to take their bread and or wine for their family. So the bread will be packaged as one individual small little loaf for the family to break up by themselves, and it'll come in a little baggie. So very simply, just grab a bag for your family, and the officer will proceed on. Please remember not to touch the tray, as this would require us to go back and disinfect that tray. As we do the wine, you'll again notice the officer will bring a tray full of wine cups, just as you normally would have, and he will just expect you to take as many cups as you need to and pass them to your family members. Lastly, we look at the tithes and offerings, and going to go just the opposite. Instead of us giving you something, you're going to be putting your tithes and offerings into the tray. Again, remember, don't touch the tray. Just drop that tithe and offering into the tray, and the officer will proceed to the next person. Again, if you could just please seat an adult at the end of the pews, that makes this all very simple. As you leave the sanctuary, you're going to immediately see the same thing you saw when you came into the sanctuary. There's going to be an officer standing there. He's going to be directing you to leave via the main doors of the building. Now let me take a short break and just talk through how we're going to use the restroom. Again, we encourage you as a family to try your best to come to worship and not have to use the restroom while you're here. Especially for those with littles, that's not going to be realistic. So we'd ask that you please try to limit your bathroom usage to either at the very beginning when you enter the sanctuary, or enter the foyer even, to the time when you leave. So right when you come in the foyer, your first kind of decision point is, do we need to use the restroom? When you come in the building, if that's the case, you'll tell that officer that's standing there is directing you to go into the sanctuary. You'll say, we need to use the restroom. And he'll then direct you over to the bathrooms that are at the aft of the sanctuary. Those two ADA compliant bathrooms. One opens into the foyer and one opens into the parlor. Those are pretty much single person facilities, but they're big enough for small family units to go in and use. If a mom needs to go in with her kids, we certainly encourage that. We'll have some sanitary wipes in there to wipe down the surfaces after they're used so that anything you touch will be completely safe for the next person. And then of course, if you have to wait for one of those facilities, we'd ask that you please queue up with a 6-foot bubble around you and maintain control of your children during that time. Once you're completed with using the restroom, then you'll just basically exit the building, or if you're coming into the facility, you'll then enter the sanctuary with the direction of the officer that's posted there. Following the worship, you'll be exiting the sanctuary in a similar manner than the way you entered. When you entered, you notice that we filled from front to back on the left side, on the right side first, then on the left side. As we exit the church, it's going to be from the back to the front, starting on the left side, and then proceeding to the right side. So please, Pastor Neil will give you some instruction to this effect, but please stay seated until the officer who's ushering you out of the sanctuary gives you your go message. As he stands on the inboard aisle, he'll be expecting you to exit from the outboard aisle, basically leaving the same exact way you came in. So please wait until that officer gets to your row and gives you the direction to move forward. This is, of course, so that we can maintain our social distancing 6-foot bubble as we leave. We look forward to seeing you at worship. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.